lot of these compositions were never intended to be performed live, so we have to add that to it. Well, when we start to conceptualize and come up with these ideas for the music, obviously we get a lot of inspiration from. We start with, it just depends. So for example, I'll just use Breath of the Wild for example. When we first started working on trying to create a new arrangement for the Breath of the Wild, we were very limited. So we really didn't have anything that wasn't already released to the public, and Nintendo wasn't giving us any of the materials or assets to work with. So we really had to try to create something. So I have a team myself. I have a co-producer, and I have an arranger, and we typically collaborate on kind of the ideas. What we do is we figure out what's going to work musically. We also need to create something that works within the framework of our already existing instrumentation. So meaning we have a set instrumentation of musicians. So we have to work within that framework, and we also have to be able to create something that is going to be able to play down easily, because we have limitations. We only have so much rehearsal time. So we have to kind of take in all these. These are all considerations for when we're coming up with these arrangements. So once we kind of get past that, then we can focus on the creative side of things. And what we want to do is, with my arranger, we always want to utilize all of the orchestra. It's a shame when you see only certain musicians performing on a certain piece when I have 66 musicians on stage and a 24 voice choir. So for me, I want to utilize everything, because that is how you're able to bring the audience into the performance, and you're also able to really create a wonderful sound, a full sound. And really kind of what we try to do is we always want to give it that Hollywood sound, that Hollywood treatment, because obviously video game music, it wasn't really, a lot of these compositions were never intended to be performed live, so we have to add that to it. And so we get a lot of inspiration from John Williams, Horner, a lot of the greats, that are composing. So we try to kind of create that and then try to adapt that to a video game. So once we kind of get all those things going, and we are starting to put pen to paper, and painstakingly our arrangers actually putting the notes on paper and creating that, we're taking those original themes, incorporating that, and then adding things to it. So we're pulling from it can be from Wagner or some of the classics, and we're trying to add that, and you're creating layers, and then you're also bringing in those themes and those boss battles, all those things that make the elements of an arrangement work, right? So you have the low moments, the high moments, the Epona through Hyrule, all those types of things that you have to consider, all go into this thought process, right? And so once we start getting the music, and then we get the music on paper, and we've created the arrangement, then we submit it to Nintendo. And then Nintendo, Mr. Kondo, of course, that's the thing about Nintendo, they're very hands-on, right? So everything that we do goes to the principals. They go to either, from a musical standpoint, it goes to Mr. Kondo, and his team will approve it. Once they approve it, or they have changes, we'll either fix it and then resubmit, or we've been very fortunate that a lot of the stuff that we do has been approved. There's not a lot of process that's involved. It's actually been a pretty expedient process, which is I guess it's a credit to my wonderful team, because they always seem to get it just right. And once we get that, and we get that approval back for the music, then what we do is we create the Sibelius score. And the Sibelius is a program that we use to be able to create, and what that can do is that will extract it so that all the parts will come out of that. So then we have that process, and we're able to basically extract from the files, and we're able to create the conductor score for that, and then we can create all the parts for all the musicians. And if it's a choir that's utilized on the piece, then we'll create the choir parts as well. And then once we get that done, we will take the music, we'll create a sound file, and we'll take that sound file, and then we'll start thinking about the video. So we're conceptualizing the video. and we're figuring out how to match the music in the video. And so we'll edit to that track so that everything is in perfect sync. So we have two teams. We have a musical team and we have our video team. Okay, and our video team's in LA, and they do all the editing and everything. And then we have our audio team, which is also in LA and Seattle, and they'll do all the music. And then I also have a music librarian who is cataloging all this and having everything so it's all ready to go. So once we get the visual and we create a visual landscape of how it's going to work within the arrangement, we'll edit to that, and then we'll submit the visual with the soundtrack to Mr. Awanuma and his staff. And then they'll let us know if that's going to work or not. And if it doesn't work, they'll give us some edits. We'll edit it and we'll send it back. Again, it's usually been pretty seamless. We've been able to have very good luck where we don't have a lot of changes, so it makes my job a lot easier. And so they will bless it. And then what we do is, now that we have the audio and the video done and in the can, now what we do is we need to create it so that we can have it ready for the musicians when we get into a concert environment, because we create what's called a click track. And the click track is what is built so that everything is on a track, so that everything is in perfect sync. And what the gentleman who does our clicks for us, again out of LA, a gentleman who works on Lord of the Rings and all the big major films, we will have him build the clicks, which are streamers and bars and also numbers, so that everything is in perfect sync. And that's what the conductor and the musicians on stage will be listening to, so that everything's in perfect synchronization. And so once we get to that point, then it's all smooth sailing, and then that's how we create these movements for our show. So it seems like it's a pretty complicated process, but for the most part, we've kind of got it down to a science. So it's gotten easier over the years, fortunately for me and for my team, because we've done it so much. But in the beginning, it was definitely difficult. But kind of, I guess what I want to say is, we kind of treat this process the same way we would treat a film score. So if you ever watch some of the greats like John Williams, or if you ever look behind the scenes and making of the music from Star Wars, you'll see that they go to a soundstage and they actually have the movie being projected, and these people are listening with a click track and they're performing to that movie. Same way. So that's the same way that we do it, except we don't have an orchestra sitting in a studio. We actually do it live on stage. So I recreate the same exact thing that you would see in a Hollywood film score, live and on stage. So that's what you're seeing here tonight. That's what our concert is basically. It's not being recorded. It's just a live performance. The same way you would see John Williams conducting the Skywalker Ranch Orchestra at Skywalker Ranch in Marin County. So that's the process.